Well, I didn't review Soen's latest album, so I guess to maintain my progressive metal cred card, I better review Periphery stuff. So, yeah, a little bit of a disclaimer before we dive in. This is my first endeavor with Periphery, so if anything that I'm saying comes across as naive or ignorant or anything like that, it's because this is the only album I've heard from them. Also, yes, I do understand that my ridiculousness of my ensemble right now, but look, this is my pajama shirt. It's super cozy, and I figured for a band like Periphery and Hail Stan, I think I get a pass on this one.
From mountaintop to oceans, we own your every need.
Periphery 4, Hail Stan by Periphery. So, Hail Stan is technically the 6th or 5th album from Periphery, if you kind of include Juggernaut being 1 or 2 albums with Omega and Alpha. So Periphery is one of the first bands to kind of use that gent technique in more of a like accessible style without being completely overly brutal the entire time or completely technical and only being accessible by those like really like into it kind of musical aficionados. So coming into Periphery 4, Hail Stan. As I said at the beginning, I'm not quite sure of the history of the band or what they sounded like moving like beforehand, so I only had a vague idea of what to expect when coming into Periphery. I'm going to use this word not as a derogatory or as an undercut for it, but it does sound juvenile, and again, I don't mean that as a derogatory, I don't mean that as an undercut or anything like that, but what I do feel is that there's an essence of youth, there's an essence of young blood felt within this. And even though, you know, these guys have been around now for over like almost 10 years, there is still that kind of like trying to prove a point, trying to carve a name for themselves. The vocal work and the young blood aspect, you got that within the energy, within the music, within the lyrics, within the vocal work. All that feels very fresh and very young. More of like that angsty energy here. Coming in, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I did enjoy most of the movements. I did enjoy some of those drops and some of those more heavy aspects. By far, I think the biggest weakness of this album is that they lead with their strongest song. Reptile being at 16 and a half minutes, being that standout track, and this is what kind of gets me whenever an album leads with their heaviest song, is that once the song is over, I don't really have too much to look forward to after the fact. Reptile having so many great soaring soundscapes. I love once they get into that chorus area. I love the vocal work of Spencer, because what he's able to do with the vocals, I gotta give the guy props. He's able to kind of utilize that fun, soaring, very like crisp soundscapes within that vocal work, while balancing very well with the screaming, the yelling, the growly, because if you have one or the other all the time within this presentation of music, it could get stale, it could get a little stagnant. So I like the fact that he's always able to move around in that sense. And Reptile does a great job of facilitating this. Yeah, like, I mean, the rest of the songs are fantastic. We come right into Blood Eagle with a lot of those blast beats. We have a lot more of that angst on there, and it's all right. Like, the only thing is, though, I don't know, after Reptile, I'm like, Blood Eagle's all right. The same kind of like with Church Burner. I know it's supposed to be like, what, Traverse Burner? Anyway, it's Church Burner. It's very hard hitting, which makes sense. And being, I think, the shortest track on the album, it is like the most intense song on there. And it leads a little bit better into Garden of the Bones, which is a little bit more subdued. It's a little bit more intimate in that sense. It's not quite as hard hitting and like beat you over the head with the double kick bass drum. And I also feel like It's Only Smiles is actually a particular treat for me. I really, really enjoy It's Only Smiles, and I feel like at the end of It's Only Smiles, I feel like that's a really great place to just kind of end the album. Not saying that the songs that come after that aren't good. I'm just saying this would have been a great place to end the album. So if you had moved maybe It's Only Smiles at the end after Satellites, it would have provided a really nice rounded feel, especially with Garden in the Bones being a little bit more on the softer side and It's Only Smiles being very much on the softer side. I feel like these two tracks kind of playing together, I don't quite know if they really mesh well. Follow Your Ghost is probably my favorite track outside of Reptile. I love how this song builds. I love how this song ends. It kind of captures what I have learned Periphery to be, at least within this song, very, very well in like conglomerating all those styles into one piece. And with Follow Your Ghost, I love that meaty hook that we have right from that beginning, where it's that dun 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 dun. Like, it's got that really great chugging guitar that really leads the song through. It's almost the thread line for it. And I like how it breaks down near the midpoint just to build itself back up to such a great piece. So I feel like almost Follow Your Ghost needs to be bumped up a little bit more in the track listing, so that Only Smiles can more end the album off. And Crush being another really, really great track. You know, the second half of this album is really kind of strong when you compare it to the songs that follow Reptile in the first half. I like how they use more of like this 80s synth to start it off. It feels very much like the used Simulation Theory beginning piece. And I like how it builds as well. Like, they don't bash you over the head with that brutality when it isn't needed. Like, Crush isn't needed to be this big, brutal song. Even though there are little aspects of it sprinkled through, it is more of a, like, an atmospheric metal song. And of course, this is followed up with Silent Glow, and Silent Glow starts off very, very heavy. We get to the midpoint and it slows down a little bit to provide us with a little bit of a clean air, and then it builds itself back up. It's all right. It's fine. I feel like Satellites, though, the actual ending piece on here, doesn't really do a whole lot within the 9.25 minute runtime. It doesn't really like do anything new. I think they should have just cut this song completely, and you wouldn't really have lost anything. Overall, I was still really impressed with this, and a lot of people are saying this isn't necessarily their best work, but for me, it was a great introduction. I really enjoyed my time with it. I never found myself like staring at my watch, wondering when it was going to end, and it is definitely more of that accessible gent technical metal kind of an aspect. This is one that I would have no problem downloading onto my computer. I would even probably purchase it in a digital format, just to kind of have on my computer and just to return to whenever I could. So yeah, that's about it for Hail Stand by Periphery. What did you guys think? Those who have loved Periphery, let me know how it stacks up to their other albums and which ones should I check out first. A lot of people are saying Periphery 3 is really, really good, and I need to check that one out, so maybe I'll do that one next when I get through all the other albums that I need to review. So that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.